I once took a degree. It's like a university course, but it's in this other kind of institutions, the Polytechnic, and I took a degree in primary school teaching. Then it came. I did teach for about 3 years. Then it came financial crisis. IMF came in. Schools started shutting. A lot of teachers like me, which were at the beginning, became unemployed. But that doesn't really matter. That's not the point. So I once took this degree, and after the 4 years, I remember thinking to myself that, hey, after this one, I should now take a more specialized degree. Not that wasn't specialized, but because it was so broad spectrum in teaching. I mean, you had from arts and crafts, music, history, philosophy, psychology, sociology, socioanthropology, and of course the classics, mathematics, Portuguese, which native tongue, Portuguese, English, statistics, and you had really broad spectrum. Science, of course, everything was not very in depth, but you'd grasp a little bit of everything, and altogether it gave you the ability to understand many things, like a good base of start. Of course, then the specialization was about handling classroom techniques and pedagogical tools, and and I remember finishing that and realizing this was, now I think everyone should take this. This should be the thing where you shouldn't be able to go through life without taking this course. And why did I think this? Because I'm talking about this because when I go through the news and things become more obvious, become more clear, and then you go through the comment boxes of the news, and you wanna go back and throw yourself out of a building or something, or you don't even. I mean, okay, the comment boxes are an extreme example because people really troll there, and they show the worst in them in those places. But okay, go in the streets, in the cafes, talk to people face to face, and you realize that most of the propaganda goes through, not because people are bad or they are just stupid. I don't buy that, okay? It's sometimes you get tempted to just put yourself on a higher place than everyone else's, and it's really a mistake. It's one of the things that works against all of us. But most of the people buy the propaganda because they lack the basic knowledge and the basic broad spectrum knowledge and some other tools, for example, like philosophy or socioanthropology. You don't have to be a specialist in these things, but if you go through them, and if you are at least obliged, if you want to take the degree, obliged to read certain authors, your reality becomes different, right? And so I really think that the education system is really produces machines cogs for the machine instead of human beings that are able to think through, think honestly, do not see a competition out of everything, do not take pride in every little argument they make, you know, like a lot of childish behavior, and do not immediately take black and white stances, right? And this is key. But the education system lately, when I mean lately, I mean decades lately, it seems that it's if you talk to, for example, high school students, I had the chance to go in front of a class very recently to tell about my adventures while in Russia and the Donbass, and I realized that some of these students that they didn't even have, these were like high school last year, right? Some of them already had chosen a way, history or geography or some other area. Some of them chose history. And when I asked, for example, basic fact, have you ever heard of Stalingrad, for example? And I got this silence, which for me was like stunning. It's like, how is it possible? Humanities students, how is it possible? And their biggest worry, I could understand from talking to them, their biggest worry was just to score that grade, to be in that place, to pass, to be the best while being the worst. This is my thing. So you can now be the best without knowing anything or everything that you like memorize. It's just to put in the test to be the best, but you are an utter moron. You are unable to think in very basic principles, and this is it's a bit scary. Of course, I'm not gonna overgeneralize. I'm not gonna paint too much of a bleak picture, because you still have within all this chaos that we seem to be living in, there is hope. I mean, you still meet people that think through and they are very knowledgeable. And I'm not talking about the people who dedicate themselves to study and to make investigations about certain area of knowledge. I'm just talking about common people, right? Because knowledge is not like something that belongs only to certain people. Everyone can acquire it. Like, improve your common sense. Improve the knowledge of the masses. This is the key. This is what I'm talking about. It's not some like, oh, he's very knowledgeable, the wise guy. No. Nothing like that. It's common. And that's one of the things I liked when I was in Russia, is I noticed that people have more general knowledge of things, of culture, other people's culture, geography, not so much in languages, but the code to communicate, I mean. But overall, they seem more knowledgeable of everything. Well, yeah. So we gotta. I think if we really have to change something, or if you really want to maintain certain liberties and certain things that we like in life, our freedoms, we have to invest in education. We have to. And education is also a science. It studies a lot of human behavior and all the ways, all the mechanisms, all the learning mechanisms, and it shapes you. Education shapes you. The more you know, the more you think. It's not just a matter of quantity, right? It's a matter of how to handle your information. It's not just, you're not just a hard drive who stores like episodes of history and mathematical formulas. No, not like that. That's what school does. It inputs that in your brain and that's it, and it's just a machine to reproduce that. And when you come to a basic discussion about geopolitics, you are unable to articulate any thought beyond propaganda. See, I'm trying to establish the difference here, and I do not consider myself like I'm an average Joe, like they say in the US, average Joe. It's I'm a working class. I could spend more time reading. I do read some. I do listen to podcasts, which is thanks to technology. We have a lot of that. I used to, when I was younger, I used to be a big fan of radio talk shows. But now we can choose all different matters and have very good information for. Reading is still important, I think. But nowadays I spend more time reading, like news articles and such. But it's a habit that you develop, and it's also a behavior that you develop, not to take too much pride in your knowledge or in your arguments. Always leave little door open to doubt. Yeah, I hope I have made my point by now. I gotta go to work. See you on the next one. And as always, when I do this kind of videos, I go rambling on and then I forget some of the things I wanted to say. So I'm back to say them. All of this because I was thinking today of the news that I read after waking up, which is Israel just censored a news outlet because it doesn't like the truth. It doesn't like the truth being written out there. It does want to control the means of communication. It does censorship the people who protest within its streets. It keeps on murdering, mass murdering people. It's like, and nothing happens. And we accept this. And then suddenly some other news come about we're talking about real violence there, right? Real violence. We see, they don't even hide the images, right? And then suddenly you go through the news and you see some random story of like a football player that went to play to China. I saw this on the Portuguese news. Went to China to play in some Chinese league. I don't understand much about soccer leagues or anything like that. And then he tells his story, and one of the bits of his story is that he went to North Korea. And while in North Korea, it was very strange because of this and that. And then immediately people, you see my point? Immediately people get outraged. Hey, North Korea. The North Koreans are not bombing and mass killing. Remember that. And Yeah, and some other news, or if Russia, or at least this, the news about Ukraine, like Russia is a danger to Europe, it's a menace to Europe, Russia keeps threatening with nuclear weapons. You get these head titles all the time. And you see how they are manufactured, how this manufactures a narrative. And people swallow it. So that's the dangers of not having a critical thinking population. Now it's see you on the next one.